Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. My guests tonight are Stephanie Arcangelo and Neil Brockway from the American Red Cross Connecticut chapter. Guys, welcome. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Neil,
well,
welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Doing very well.
Good. So obviously, we're sitting here tonight about to do the program, and obviously this is a very time-sensitive program, especially with what happened on the shoreline over the last couple days.
Yeah, we're preparing right now for some more winter weather.
Yes.
It's our third nor'easter in
Right.
as many weeks, and so we did have some shelter operations over the weekend, and right now we're just encouraging everyone to prepare now before the storm, and then make sure that they hunker down, shelter in place, and then be on the lookout for anything in the coming days. So Neil can talk a little bit about what we've done over this past weekend.
All right, Neil, go for it.
So after winter storms, especially the one that we just had, which was really a heavy wet snow, you get a lot of the down power lines, the down trees.
Oh yeah.
And so people try to ride it out in their homes and they want to stay in their homes, but then it starts getting cold and it's several days on end. And so that's when we start working with our communities to open up shelters for individuals.
Right.
So our last shelter that we just closed over the weekend was in Killingworth.
Sure.
And we put Red Crossers out there. We partnered with our community, and basically during the day it was there for people who just want to warm up, charge their cell phone, take a shower, and then we did have people stay overnight for people who really wanted to stay in someplace a little warmer than their cold homes.
Right.
And fortunately, most of the power is back on.
Oh, good.
Now in time for this next storm, which will
Yeah, right.
which is just around the corner.
Right. So Stephanie, what exactly do you do for the Red Cross?
I'm the Chief Communications Officer for the Connecticut and Rhode Island region of the Red Cross.
Okay.
I've been with the Red Cross for a little over 3 years now, and my primary responsibility is to let the community and the media know about the work of the Red Cross, what people can do to help, how they can sign up to volunteer, make a financial donation, and I also deploy on national relief operations as well, and usually serve in the public affairs function or go out as a national media spokesperson.
Really?
Yes.
You like it?
Oh, I love it. It's really, it's an honor to be able to represent an organization like the Red Cross, and I get to see firsthand what it's like when we respond to large-scale disasters. And the most touching thing is to see volunteers come from across the country. They leave their homes, they leave their families to go help people they've never met before. It's truly inspiring. And so Neil and I were fortunate enough to be able to go out and help last late summer, early fall, both to Hurricane Harvey in Houston and to Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico.
How was that? What was that like?
Both operations were completely different. We were there during Hurricane Harvey as Hurricane Harvey was hitting, and we were there for about, I was there for 3 weeks, he was there for about a month. And so very large scale shelter operations,
Yep.
But again, what we saw were Red Crossers coming from across the country. We were providing food, shelter, water, and everything, to make sure that those people had a safe place to stay, warm meal to eat, and to help them get back on their feet. And I'll let Neil talk a little bit more about Puerto Rico, because that was really a different response.
Yeah, and so I've been with the Red Cross about 11 years.
Okay.
And so here locally, I manage the Red Cross's disaster preparedness, response, and recovery programs across Connecticut and Rhode Island. During larger scale disasters, I deploy out as either our director or some other leadership level position on larger scale relief operations. And I've deployed out to about 3 dozen or so large scale disasters, and Puerto Rico was by far the most challenging. Typically we'll go into a disaster, there's obviously a lot of challenges. There you have your damaged areas, you have communication challenges, those types of things. So our structure is to try to bring some organization to the chaos to be able to deliver relief services. The challenge in Puerto Rico was that not only are we on an island,
Right.
but communication's completely out, power's completely out, and it's very difficult to get supplies into the island because things have to be brought in by boat, and there's only one operational airport and everyone's trying to land. And so it was really a trying type of opportunity where we had to really put our heads together and come up with a lot of really unique solutions to these challenges in order to make sure that people had the basic necessities of life. This was not an operation where we were trying to make people more comfortable. It was really an operation where we were working against the clock to keep people alive, to get them food, to get them water, to get them basic supplies.
Right. And how was it? Very worthwhile and gratifying to be out there?
Absolutely. Every day you'd go to sleep absolutely exhausted, but
Yeah.
you would realize that that day, that through your actions and through the actions of your teams, not only were you able to save one life or two lives, but countless lives, and people that were able to have clean water, they were able to have medical supplies, able to have food for their child, for their infants, for their elderly parents, that would not have any other way to get those supplies had it not been through the work for you and your team.
Exactly. And I'm sure when Stephanie and Neil, you guys can both chime in on this, when you guys are out there on a disaster relief mission, like you're in Puerto Rico or you're with Hurricane Harvey, I'm sure every day when you're out there, it's not like the day before. There's different challenges and different things to do.
You pretty much nailed it.
Am I right?
Yes, you are absolutely correct. The days are extremely long, and it's funny sometimes. It's something that popped up at 7 o'clock in the morning. It seems like, by 7 o'clock at night that was about 2 weeks ago, because every day on a relief operation pretty much feels like about a week. I would say. So I say I spent 21 weeks in Houston, because that's really truly what it feels like. You're just helping to triage one thing kind of after the other, and the larger the relief operation, the more it feels like that. But again, there's nothing more gratifying than to be able to help those in need.
Neil, thoughts, feelings?
Yeah, I would completely agree, and I'll take it back to, and Stephanie was here at this day, when we were down in Houston, and we were dealing with this just catastrophic flood, where we had, 40 to 50 and almost 60 inches of rainfall over an area the size of southern New England.
Wow.
It was an immense amount of rain. And so we're dealing with hundreds of thousands of people that have been displaced. People are coming into our shelters. One of our shelters that we opened up with had a capacity of 5,000. That evening it got up to over 10,000 people in this one shelter. And so we're dealing with these shelters, hundreds of shelters and thousands of people that are seeking refuge. And I remember sitting at my desk taking phone call after phone call, trying to get supplies out, making sure that we had all of our teams in place, when a team member handed me a note and said that there had been at an area on the east side of Houston, that there had been a chemical fire and there was potentially a chemical explosion, and a mile radius around this plant was going to be evacuated. It was one of those types of things where, okay, well, we hadn't planned for this. And the key thing that you have to do on these relief operations is you have to keep things in perspective,
right,
and you have to take a deep breath, and you have to say, okay, how are we going to respond to this? Exactly. What we have to do is make sure that we're not inviting the chaos of the operation in,
right,
that we have to, within ourselves, internalize that and bring organization to it. So you can't fly off the handle and say, oh my gosh, there's about to be an explosion and we have to do all these things.
Right.
Take a deep breath, and now you've got to figure out how you're going to respond to it.
And how would you?
So in that, the first thing that we did is we identified how many people lived within that mile radius of that chemical plant. We also identified if we had any shelters within that area that we had to then evacuate. Fortunately, all of our shelters were on the outside of that area. But then we had to identify, okay, well, these thousands of people that were now going to be evacuated, where are they going to go? So then we had to work with our emergency management partners to put up a plan to make sure that the shelters that we had that we're going to go to had capacity to be able to accept those individuals. And then we just work out the same kind of plans. And I think the more that you keep it methodical and you really work through, okay, well, we have to do this, then this, then this, you take apart what is a catastrophic event into a more manageable bite-sized pieces so you can respond effectively to it. If we tried to respond to the essence of Hurricane Harvey of this catastrophic disaster in one stop, it wouldn't work. So you have to take it piece by piece in order to make forward progress.
Exactly. Now, Stephanie, you guys aren't only disaster relief, but you guys are also blood.
Absolutely.
And from a little birdie told me that the month of March is blood donor month.
Well, actually, so March is Red Cross month, so we're celebrating all of the things that we do. That's okay. But especially with these these storms come in, it forces us to cancel blood drives, and when that happens, blood goes uncollected. And in Connecticut, we need to collect just a little bit under 300 units of blood every day to meet hospital patient needs. The important thing to remember is that every 2 seconds, someone in the U.S. needs blood, and so anytime folks can make an appointment, they can visit redcrossblood.org and call 1-800-RED-CROSS or download the Red Cross Blood Donor app and to make an appointment. Again, every 2 seconds, and blood is a perishable product, so it only has a shelf life of 42 days, so it constantly needs to be replenished.
I didn't realize that. See, you taught me something.
Yes, and platelets.
Wow.
Platelets can be donated every 2 weeks, up to 24 times per year, but those only have a shelf life of 5 days. So you have testing during that period of time as well, and those are key components for cancer patients as well as burn victims. The key clotting component is what platelets is, and so that's really important that we make sure that folks who can donate platelets, that they're eligible to do so and get out there regularly.
Now, as far as blood donation goes, is there let's say we give blood tomorrow, is there a waiting period in between the times you can go and re-give again?
Yes, so every 56 days you can donate whole blood, and so that's when you go into a regular blood drive.
Gotcha.
And it takes about, the donation itself only takes about 10 minutes. The whole process takes about an hour or so. But yeah, you can help save up to 3 lives with each donation.
56 days, wow, it's not that big of a waiting window at all.
Yeah, and what's really great about things like the Red Cross Blood Donor app is that you can track your appointments. You can actually see where your blood is. Is it being tested? Has it gone off to a hospital? You can track how many times you've donated and let you know when you're eligible to donate again.
Really?
Yeah.
Very cool. I didn't realize that. Neil, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I think, when you look at blood, it takes me back to, when we have these large-scale disasters, because again, that's the side of the house in the Red Cross that I focus on.
Right.
Recognize that even though we have different program areas like blood services and disaster, it all comes into connection. So during our large-scale disasters, we still have to figure out how to get blood in. And so, our own CEO from Connecticut, Rhode Island, Mario Bruno, he was tasked with, during the Puerto Rico response, with actually carting, I don't know how many cases, several dozen.
22 boxes.
22 boxes of blood to Puerto Rico from Georgia. And so to bring that blood in to Puerto Rico to help supply those hospitals. And the same thing during Hurricane Harvey. We were airlifting blood from our offices in central Houston to different areas, hospitals around the town, because you couldn't get anywhere due to the flooded roadways.
Yeah, and we do know that at least one of those boxes of blood had blood that went to a woman who had just given birth and needed blood emergently. So it definitely helped save her life. Yeah.
Oh,
so
very cool.
Yeah, in storms like that, you have to think about. That's just another component that you have to think about, and that's why the Red Cross is here.
Would you guys mind sticking around for another segment?
Absolutely. Love to.
We'll be right back.
And I can't change, even if I try, even if I wanted to. My love, she keeps me warm. 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 She keeps me warm.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Love is kind. Love is patient.
And welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. Sitting here with Stephanie and Neil from the American Red Cross Connecticut chapter. Guys, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Stephanie, we were talking about blood and blood donations and the way you guys airlifted blood to when you guys had a disaster. And what I didn't ask going out of the break, I'm going to ask coming into the break, is when you guys get blood and it's airlifted and it lands, is there a specific time that it's got to be used? Does it go bad? Does it expire?
So the blood is in temperature-controlled boxes, and that's how all of our blood is transported, whether it's right from our lab to the hospital, or in a situation where it was coming from a distribution point at our Houston headquarters, being airlifted. And so blood does have a shelf life of 56 days, and so that is when it is properly stored. And what's really great nowadays is that hospitals have better blood management. They're making sure that the right types are getting to the right people. They're not overusing blood during surgeries and things like that. But again, again, because of that shelf life, it really is important that we keep the supply up. So if you are eligible to make a donation, we encourage you to do so.
Exactly. And Neil, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, just the thing that I worry about on the blood side is when we get into these back-to-back winter storms.
Yeah.
Again, people, blood drives may be canceled, but it's important that if you are scheduled and your blood drive does get canceled because of the weather, we really want you to go back in and reschedule that visit, because again, having these winter months, we tend to see a drop down of the blood supply, and we really need to make sure that everyone's donating.
Now let's talk a little bit about, in this segment as well, disaster relief and actually getting a disaster relief kit prepared. What should be in the box? How long? All that other fun stuff. So, Neil?
Sure. So anytime. If we're here in coastal Connecticut, the types of hazards that we need to look at are really going to be your basic winter storm and then your tropical events, your hurricanes. Those are the main types of things. So you want to make sure that you have a plan in place to respond to both of those.
Okay.
So on the winter side, plan for like we just had. We had power outages all over the place. So you want to make sure that you have enough shelf-stable food, that you have water, that you have supplies for your pets, that you have flashlights, so you don't have to light candles in your house. Those are the main types of things. And then on a hurricane, what you really need to look at is two different things. One, you need to assess whether or not your home is in a storm surge zone, and whether or not it's going to be safe for you to stay in your home during a tropical storm or a hurricane. And then if it is safe for you to stay in your home, if you're further away from the water, if you have a home that can withstand the wind and you can hunker down in your home, it's the same kind of preparedness that you want to take for a winter storm. You want to make sure that you have at least 72 hours worth of supplies, of fresh water, batteries, those types of things.
And Stephanie?
Medication list is also extremely important. You want to make sure that you have extra medications, and then if you do need to head to a shelter, if there were widespread power outages or you did have to evacuate, you want to have a list of those medications so we can make sure that we get those for you. People sort of forget about that. The other thing is a digital preparedness kit is really important. Making sure that you have those solar chargers, portable chargers, your cords, all of those sorts of things. So if you have those portable chargers and they're already charged up, you can use them to help you get access to what's going on and find out where everything is and how long it's going to take for you to get your power back on, all those sorts of things. And of course, if you do head to a shelter or you go someplace, you want to be able to charge up your devices.
Exactly. And let's talk about what happened in the local area. You guys had a shelter in Killingworth set up last weekend. What was that like? Did you guys get a lot of people?
Yeah, we had over during the day people who just came to charge up to get some food. It was over 100 people came in. Okay. We only had less than a dozen that opted to stay the night.
All right.
But again, having the ability to be there and provide that refuge for people to come out, get a little warm, get information about what's going on, because again, you're not having access to the TV, you can't get on the internet, those types of things. If you can't charge your phone, then having that shelter is also a great place to get information.
Exactly.
Now, additionally, one thing that affects everyone everywhere, so we talked about the disasters of floods, of hurricanes. The number one disaster that we respond to nationwide is actually house fires. And a lot of people tend to believe, and one of the things that we work on is to try to make people realize that disasters can happen to them. It's not someone else. It's not somebody else on the news on the other side of the world. The winter storms, the floods, the hurricanes, the house fires can happen to them. And in fact, we respond to over 60,000 house fires every year.
Wow.
And so it's the number one disaster. And here in Connecticut, it's over 700 house fires that we respond to every year. And these are people just like you and me, our neighbors that have this, that didn't think when they went to bed the night before that the next day they were going to potentially lose everything or potentially lose one of their life or their family's life in a fire.
And as far as preparedness for house fires, what can you do?
The number one one thing that you can do is make sure that you have a working smoke alarm. We know that having a working smoke alarm in your home cuts the risk of dying from a home fire in half. And we know that you have as little as 2 minutes to get out of your house if you are alerted to a home fire due to your smoke alarm. So having a working smoke alarm, that's number one. You also want to have a home fire escape plan, and that is you want to be able to know 2 ways that you can get out of every room of your home. You want to have a meeting location that everyone in your family knows about, usually across the street at a neighbor's home, so you're out of harm's way. But this way everybody knows where to go and nobody has to go back into the house. Once you get out of a home fire, you never go back into the house. You don't go back in for your pets. We know we love our pets, but once you're out, you need to stay out, and that helps for the safety of your family and for the fire department. So those 2 things are really important, the smoke alarms and the home fire escape plan.
Exactly.
And at the Red Cross, we have a Red Cross Home Fire campaign that we started back in...
I was going to say, yes, we do.
Yeah, in 2014.
We'll talk about that now. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we've installed more than 1 million alarms nationwide.
Okay.
And this spring, we're going to be sounding the alarm to save lives in the greater New Haven area. And we go around and we install free smoke alarms and help families make home fire escape plans. That's going to be on April 28th. But the great news is that no matter where you are in the state of Connecticut, you can visit redcross.org/Connecticut and you can make an appointment for a free home fire safety visit, and we'll come to your home as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. Now, what does the home visit entail?
So, Neil talked about that.
So when during the home visits, we'll have a team of Red Cross volunteers. You'll have somebody who will come in and help assess, what's the status of your smoke alarm. And then one thing that I think that, I think a lot of people go to bed thinking they have working smoke alarms, and they'd be surprised to find out their smoke alarms may not be as effective as they truly are. Either they're one in the wrong place, or they're old. The smoke alarm sensors are only good for 5 to 10 years. So if you installed your alarm back in 2002, you may think that smoke alarm, because you changed the battery and it still beeps when you test it, it's still functional. It may not be.
Really?
So that's why we'll come in, we'll look at the date. If you don't have smoke alarms, we'll install them, but we'll also look at the date, make sure they're in the right spot. And then if your alarm is old, we'll replace that alarm. And what we do is we replace it with an alarm that has a 10-year battery. It has a 10-year internal battery, so you don't have to worry about daylight savings. I got to change it every 6 months. It stays up there for 10 years. The sensor's good for 10 years, so you don't have to worry about it again. The other thing that we'll do during that appointment is we'll sit down and really help you with that escape plan. Identify what are your routes out of the home, and really work with the adults in the home, if there are kids, to make sure that the kids know about how to get out of their rooms, how to get out, at least 2 different ways to get out. And then the number one important thing about your family escape plan, especially with kids, is you have to practice it.
Right.
You can't just say, okay, this is what we're going to do. You have to have drills. You've got to make it repetitive. So our teams, the meeting only takes about 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
We install the alarms, we educate the family, and we leave them with information about how to cut down the risk of house fires.
Now, how would you cut down the risk of house fires?
Well, mainly is the first one is when you're cooking. You can't leave things unattended.
Nope.
You also make sure that you're not smoking in bed. These are key causes of fires, and not overloading your outlets.
Yep.
Those types of things. So these are key things in addition to the smoke alarms that can really cut down your risk for house fires.
I see. I didn't realize that the smoke alarms, the bet only lasted a couple of years.
A lot of people don't. This is what I'm
Wow.
saying. A lot of people go to bed every night saying, I've got smoke alarms, but when were they? We've gone into homes where we have pulled out alarms that people thought were functional that were back from the 70s and 60s, and we had one just up north of
Really?
here that was pulled out from the 1940s. That person was going to bed assuming that they had functional alarms.
Oh my God.
And that's what we do when we knock on the door, and people will say, we ask them, do you have smoke alarms in your home? And say, oh yes, we have smoke alarms. And then we'll ask, well, do you know when they were installed? And they don't know. And can we come in
Sure.
and assess your alarms? And then we find out these alarms are really old and offer very little protection.
Just basically, obviously, smoke alarms go bad after they expire and they don't.
The sensor gets, either they'll get covered in dust, or the sensor degrades.
Mm-hmm.
If your smoke alarm is yellow, it's likely time to
Yes.
get a new one, and the Red Cross can come and install one for free.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Yep.
That's a service you guys offer?
Yes,
for people?
absolutely.
Very nice.
And anybody,
Anybody.
anybody wants it. There's no qualifying factors. You want it, we'll come out, and it's free to everyone.
Wow. Very nice. Very nice. What else we want to talk about, considering we have a little bit more time left?
We want to also, in addition, we didn't really talk about this, but the Red Cross provides preparedness, health, and safety services. So we teach people CPR.
Yeah.
That's really important. First aid as well. So those classes are also available. You can visit redcross.org and you can find a class in your area and sign up.
And obviously those classes are offered year-round?
Those classes are offered year-round. You just type in your zip code and help to find one that's nearby that's convenient for you.
Very nice, very nice.
And what I
Yes.
would say is, the thing I love about the Red Cross is that it's the work of volunteers that actually makes it possible. And in the Red Cross, volunteers aren't just used to as a tool. Volunteers are the heart and soul of the organization. I mentioned those 700 house fires that we respond to. Those are volunteers that respond to those fires. And it's 24/7, 365. So you can get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning and a team of volunteers on our disaster action team will actually go out there, meet with the family, and provide them with immediate assistance. We have volunteers that not only respond to house fires, but we have a volunteer leader right now who has deployed to American Samoa to lead the disaster relief operation to a major typhoon. And so our volunteers can they can do everything from data entry to responding to house fires to leading large-scale national disaster relief operations. And that's what I think makes this organization powerful, is that is the truly utilizing volunteers at all aspects of our organization.
The Red Cross would not exist without our volunteers.
Exactly. It's a very worthwhile organization, and people are probably gonna watch this and think, oh, I thought the American Red Cross was just for blood drives. And obviously that's not the case at all.
We do so much, and that is through the power of volunteers, and we encourage anyone who's interested in learning more to visit our website. And also, we need more volunteers. We always need volunteers, so please consider signing up and becoming a Red Crosser yourself.
Now, what type of volunteers do we normally look for?
We look for anyone.
Ooh, you know what? We're out of time tonight. We want to thank you guys for coming down, and we'll hopefully have you on again soon.
Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Thanks a lot, guys. On behalf of Stephanie and Neil, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next time.